What occurs when legacy, love, and allegiance clash in public view? On the BET Awards red carpet, Papoose, who was formerly praised as hip-hop's most devoted husband, surprised everyone by referring to boxing champion Claressa Shields as his beautiful lady. But hold on, what became to Remy Ma? Is it really over for the couple who once epitomized black love, who made it through jail, family hardships, and the spotlight? More significantly, is Claressa truly Papoose's new queen, or is this only a ploy? In a larger scheme, social media is ablaze and fans are split. While some claim Remy has been totally removed from Papoose's heart and future, others think there is more going on. We're examining the reality behind the headlines. Today, the decline of Pap and Remy Claressa Shields' ascent into the maelstrom of emotions that is building in the center. Hold on tight, because this isn't just celebrity rumors. It's a public display of a real-life love triangle, and nothing is as it seems. In the past, there was a romantic tale in hip-hop that people genuinely believed in. A tale of perseverance, loyalty, and genuine dedication in a society that is sometimes blamed for the reverse. Papoose and Remy Ma were the subject of that love tale. The year was 2008. Remy Ma, a fiery Bronx lyricist and member of the Terror Squad, had recently received an 8-year jail sentence for assault. The majority of people believed that her burgeoning profession and perhaps any hope of a committed relationship would come to an end. Now, however, Papoose stepped forward like he was in a movie. He didn't flee, he didn't disappear. He remained not. Only did he stay, but he held her down in a way that nobody anticipated. Before the hashtag became popular, he paid her a visit, wrote to her, yelled her out in songs, and even donned black love clothing. Papoose made loyalty fashionable in a world when rappers were trading partners like sneakers. He was anticipating her arrival. And the wedding they had postponed for years eventually took place in 2016 when Remy returned home. It was symbolic, emotional, and, to be honest, it was motivating in hip-hop. They came to represent true love, which supporters could support. Their joint interviews, spin-off, Meet the Mackies, and appearances on Love and Hip Hop New York were all based on the same theme: through thick and thin we ride together. However, nobody was aware of the impending speed bump on that voyage, a large one. People began to notice a change over time. Papoose, who used to be unable to stop complimenting Remy in interviews, started to post about her less and less. Once quite outspoken about their love, Remy became more reserved. Fans, however, blamed it on privacy. After all, you could just want some solitude after being in jail and being photographed by photographers? The rumors then surfaced. Online rumors started to circulate in late 2023 and early 2024 that Remy Ma was having an affair, purportedly with Easy, the Block Captain, a budding battle rapper. Fans analyzed the couple's body language, looks, and even song lyrics after spotting them together at many occasions. Was it accurate? Was the man who waited for her during her darkest years the one Remy Ma was cheating on? Initially, neither Papoose nor Remy answered. Fans, however, continued to dig. The pivotal moment occurred in May 2025, when it was discovered through court papers that Papoose had filed for divorce. Yes, separation. Papoose was formally terminating their nearly 17-year public partnership, love, and commitment. Additionally, the records weren't silent on the subject. He quoted irreconcilable differences and accused cheating, according to reports. It was disorganized, it hurt. Worst of all, it was open to the public. Social media took off. The hashtag Remy and Pap went viral not in joy, but in sorrow. Everyone was discussing on TikTok, YouTube creators, and Twitter, now X. Some were heartbroken. What chance is there for the rest of us if Papoose and Remy didn't make it? You waited for her all those years, just for her to step out like this, said some indignantly. We don't know the whole story, said the defense. Of course. Perhaps Pap wasn't the angel that everyone believes him to be. Whatever one's stance, One thing was certain: the fantasy had been dashed. Love's ability to endure anything had suffered before everything had even calmed down. Papoose made an appearance at the 2025 BET Awards, not only as a guest, but in a moment that altered the course of events in several pictures. He was shown standing next to boxer Claressa Shields, the current undisputed middleweight world champion and two-time Olympic gold medalist, legend unto herself. Strong, self-assured, and well-liked. It wasn't only the photos, though that was his statement. "That's my lovely lady right there." Boom! Social media went into overdrive after just one phrase. Was he only being courteous? Are you flirtatious? Or was a new connection being gently introduced? More significantly, was his heart truly cleansed of Remy Ma? This is the juicy part. That moment at the BET Awards wasn't a coincidence. Only a few weeks had passed since the divorce paperwork was made public. Fans naturally started to wonder if Papoose was making a statement. Was he attempting to openly move on after being hurt? Or was this premeditated retaliation? Some admirers felt sorry for them. "Let the man live," they said. "He sacrificed everything to an unfaithful lady. Someone who values him is what he deserves." Others didn't believe it. No, nothing that Papoose does is an accident. This is a statement, and a chilly one at that. Why, then, is Claressa Shields? She isn't a rapper. She doesn't typically hang out with Papoose. She is a formidable force, though. The greatest woman of all time in boxing, or GWOAT. She is sophisticated, focused, and determined with very little drama. A few admirers began to make connections. Recently, Papoose was seen working out at a few boxing gyms. He had shared that he was in Claressa's hometown of Detroit. And that same evening, Claressa re-shared a message that said, "Grateful for the company of real ones." Quiet? Indeed. Coincidence? Most likely not. Remy Ma, meantime, has been largely silent. No lengthy Instagram updates, not a single diss tune. No interviews. However, tranquility is not necessarily implied by silence. And if we've discovered anything about Remy Ma, it's that she seldom keeps quiet. According to some sources, she is getting ready to argue her position in a future podcast interview. Others think she's simply waiting for the media cycle to end before re-entering the limelight. In any case, the lady who was formerly referred to as the Queen of Black Love has just been deposed. At least temporarily, it's more than simply a breakup. The public dismantling of a hip-hop heritage is what it is. As a brand, Remy and Pap were never merely a couple, a motion, a wish. And now, whether or not supporters are prepared, a new chapter is starting as that brand becomes fragmented. Regarding Claressa, is she on the rise? The improvement? Or simply a person caught in the midst of a media frenzy? The internet erupted. Rather than merely reacting, timelines exploded on YouTube, X, previously Twitter, and TikTok after Papoose referred to Claressa Shields as his beautiful lady during the BET Awards. Rumors that had begun as a slow fire abruptly erupted into a full-fledged firestorm. People were hearing things they couldn't believe. While some seized popcorn, others held their symbolic pearls. Everybody had a viewpoint. The response was divided in two. You had supporters of Pap on one side. They said he deserves to be happy. Remy made a mistake. Claressa reigns supreme. Fans who recalled his devotion throughout Remy's imprisonment and the innumerable years he spent at her side when most would have turned away said, "Let that man move on." They saw this as salvation rather than betrayal. A triumphant lap for a man who had lost all his feelings. However, the loyalists, or those who believed in black love with a capital B&L, were on the other side. This was a betrayal to them, not of Remy Ma alone, but of a whole movement. Remy and Papoose have served as role models for them. evidence that love was resilient in the face of stress, celebrity, incarceration, and the limelight. And suddenly, it appeared that one polished, well-dressed praise on a red carpet had destroyed that proof. The memes appeared quickly. Next to the picture of Pap and Claressa at the BET Awards are side-by-side pictures of Papoose and Remy in 2016, looking happy. After getting married, the iconic Kermit drinking tea meme is followed by captions such as, "From Queen to Contender." Out the booth, into the ring, and Remy Ma watching this from the shadows like, when love tales fail, especially after being publicly performed, the internet is seldom kind. Another battlefield was TikTok. From Remy's purported affair with Easy, the block captain, to Papoose's enigmatic words in his more recent songs, creators shared summaries of the whole time frame. Some of these TikToks received millions of views in a matter of days. Featuring Claressa's battle video stitched together with love music and phrases like Papoose finally found someone who can fight for him the way he fought for Remy. It was now digital reality TV, not simply entertainment. The quiet just added to the intensity. Claressa and Papoose did not provide any more remarks. No affirmations. Not a single denial. What about Remy? She remained silent. The rumors were only stoked by that quiet. Theories, presumptions, and leaked. Stories from unnamed persons claiming to be close to the couple were used to fill in the gaps left by the lack of evidence. According to a well-known blogger, Papoose and Claressa had been friendly for more than a year after meeting through a common boxing acquaintance. That source claimed that Pap had been motivated by Claressa's firmness and discipline, which he believed were lacking in his marriage. Nobody knows if that is real or not. However, it was enough juicy to sustain the tale for weeks. Then the raucous, relentless Remy fans arrived. They uncovered earlier interview snippets in which Papoose vowed never to discuss his private life in public, saying that the entire situation appearing with Claressa using that specific phrase was inconsistent with his character. One person said on X, "This isn't the Pap we know. It's Pap. This hurts. Petty Papa Pap has a plan." Even though there was no verified overlap between Claressa and Pap while he was still formally with Remy, Remy's support base started portraying her as a homewrecker. Perception is crucial when it comes to public opinion, and that story persisted after it gained traction. The fact that Claressa began sharing mysterious phrases on her Instagram stories didn't help either. The statements, "Energy doesn't lie one day, and sometimes peace is choosing yourself," the next, all fueled the conjecture that this was more than simply a friendship and that it may even be love. Fans, meanwhile, started contrasting Claressa with Remy in every manner imaginable, including loyalty, success, fashion, and attitude. Someone posted, "Claressa got belts, but Remy got bars. Claressa fights for titles." Another person wrote, "After years of fighting Papoose, Remy faltered. Easy math. Meanwhile, podcast hosts and influencers profited off the turmoil." Wanted a piece of the popular subject? The whole 45-minute documentary-style analysis. From Black Love to Red Flags. The Fall of Remy and Pap was produced by one YouTuber. In just 3 days, it had over 2 million views. Is Claressa the upgrade or the rebound? Was the topic of a live stream debate on another channel? Many hundreds of comments poured in. Some panelists placed all the blame on Remy, claiming that this was unavoidable due to her suspected adultery. Others cautioned that it was calculating and potentially cruel for Papoose to appear with another woman so quickly and openly refer to her as his beautiful lady, regardless of what transpired behind closed doors. However, older fans' answers were arguably the most intriguing. Those who had listened to Papoose and Remy's early mixtapes. This was more than tea to them. It was grief. They weren't only responding to two famous people. They were grieving the loss of a cultural figure. They were beginning to distrust something that had before given them hope. It was eloquently encapsulated in one widely shared tweet. I didn't cry when my ex left me. When Remy and Pat broke up, I started crying. I thought that was the love tale. And that's the main reason this moment was so powerful. Clout, rebound romances, and infidelity weren't the only factors involved. It has to do with faith. The conviction that two individuals could endure. And when that conviction faltered, it shocked the audience that had previously supported them. However, several people remained optimistic despite the commotion. They said perhaps this is all a misunderstanding. Perhaps they'll make things right. Perhaps. On the other hand, privacy is seldom found in a society where public perception is crucial and love tales are broadcast live. Every grin conveys a message. Every absence serves as a hint. Every compliment turns into a news story. One thing became brutally obvious as Papoose stood tall at the BET Awards with Claressa at his side. Grinning into the cameras, the audience is watching, regardless of whether this is his next chapter or only a brief shift in the story. Furthermore, nobody is yet flipping the page. Everyone has read the tweets, viewed the videos, and seen the pictures. However, people start asking the important questions once the shock subsides and the dust settles. More than simply did Papoose move on? But why? When a man who was formerly commended for his loyalty is now standing next to a new lady and referring to her as beautiful while his former love fades into the background, what does it say? People began examining the motivations and emotional weight behind the headlines. Was a new love the only thing at stake here? Or was it something more profound, a silent plea for respect? A longing for approval, or even simply traditional heartbreak cloaked in fancy suits and trophy show grins. Remembering who Papoose is important. He has never been a look-at-me type of person. He established his reputation by being taciturn, considerate, and most of all, reliable. He didn't simply wait for her after Remy left. Instead, he made it his goal to prove to the world that true men stick by their women. He turned into a representation. A spouse who waited, remained faithful, and worked to maintain a relationship through court appearances, letters, and bars. He elevated himself as a benchmark rather than merely holding her down. Furthermore, it wasn't merely casual for the same man to publicly change his tone to enter an award event and to compliment another woman with a line that sounded more poetic than public relations. It was deliberate. It had significance. Some claim that Pap used this as a means of regaining his authority. Imagine years of devotion, followed by tales of public betrayal. It is not a discomfort that simply goes away. Furthermore, it's possible that the remark about the beautiful lady had nothing to do with love. Perhaps it was a matter of deference. Perhaps it has to do with visibility, because you begin searching for a means to feel like yourself again when you are the devoted partner, the one keeping the relationship together, and then all of a sudden you are the one being discussed, held accountable, or worst, forgotten. Afterward, there is Claressa. A victor, a combatant, a lady who has consistently proven herself and defied expectations throughout her life. She is intelligent, tough, and doesn't tolerate mess. She is the drama in the finest sense of the word and is not enmeshed in it. Being close to someone with that level of grounded confidence may be a welcome change for a man like Pap, who has been negotiating emotional minefields in a failing relationship. It isn't always about romance, at least not yet. It can just be a matter of presence, about harmony, about not having to question if the person you're with is still supporting you in the same manner that you have supported them throughout the years. Because everything is consumed by that uncertainty once it enters. The internet, of course, isn't sensitive. It desires labels. Is she the rebound, it asks? It's the improvement? Or the stand-in? And that's where the complications arise. Because Pap is acting out of hurt if Claressa is the rebound. Attempting to mend what broke in secret in public? If she is the upgrade? It indicates that he has met someone who shares his ambitions and is no longer waiting for someone to be as loyal as him. Furthermore, if she is really a stand-in, this is about ego appearances. and narrative control rather than love at all. That is the challenging aspect of public relations. It never contains just two people. The audience is the third person. Every step you make becomes part of the tale once your love story has been portrayed on reality TV. In interviews, on stage, and on millions of screens, every quiet moment seems like a cue. Each picture has the sense of a news release. What about Remy? She remains silent. She is still keeping her cards close at hand. However, that stillness is deafening for someone who has dedicated her professional life to being fearless, honest, and unvarnished. She's not ready, it says. Or perhaps she's holding out. Perhaps she is aware that anything she says at this point will be interpreted as being too late, defensive, or resentful. Or perhaps she is silent because she is unsure of what to say. The fact that this is about identity for Remy rather than just love is another truth. She was more than simply a spouse. She was his spouse. Their collaboration was a component of her strength and her resurgence. Papoose was a component of her reintroduction to the public after her release from jail. They were a brand and a team. Anyone would be shaken if they abruptly and publicly lost it. The fans are in the midst of all of this, observing, passing judgment, and projecting their own aspirations and heartbreaks onto strangers with whom they identify. This scenario has been likened to Kim and Kanye, to Cardi B and Offset, to Beyoncé and Jay-Z. However, this one strikes a different chord. As Pap and Remy weren't the most flamboyant pair, they were the stable ones. It's the ones that are ride or die. The blueprint. Therefore, when that blueprint breaks, it threatens not only their legacy, but also everyone who held the values they did. This explains why there is such a strong emotional component to this story. It goes beyond who is dating whom. It has to do with loyalty and its price. It's about the notion that even when you give someone your everything, cannot be sufficient. Perhaps the most depressing fact of all is that loyalty isn't always the goal of love. Timing is crucial at times, or development, or just understanding that clinging too long may indicate fear rather than power, despite all the conjecture. One thing is certain, Papoose's action was premeditated. Perhaps he needed everyone to see that he was whole. Perhaps it was what he needed Remy to see. Or perhaps just possibly he's taking care of himself at last. It is no longer necessary to keep it down for someone who may not have been doing. So for him, being the quiet rock is over. This might have been his way of expressing, I'm still here, okay, and I'm still important. There are layers to the truth. Whatever it is a person. It's disorganized and it's not finished yet. Every narrative has a conclusion. Or, at the absolute least, a break before the next one starts. It goes beyond simply breaking a relationship between Remy Ma and Papoose. An entire era is coming to an end. But if this entire tale has taught us anything, it's that happy endings aren't always the case. They leave echoes, options, and questions in their wake. Now that the BET Awards event is reverberating across time, everyone is wondering what will happen next. We'll begin with Papoose. He has already taken action, not only in Claressa's direction, but also in a direction other than the stillness that before characterized him. Pap was referred to as the storm's calm for many years. The devoted husband who didn't pursue fame, controversy, or attention. However, he has now crossed a clear boundary by publicly referring to another woman as his beautiful lady during a significant award ceremony. It communicated something like, I'm not playing the quiet hero anymore. Whether it was a strategic message or a moment of emotional healing. As a guy who has experienced hurt, I have earned the privilege of standing with a new person. Now though, the issue is whether Papoose and Claressa will genuinely continue their relationship. Or, after months of public conjecture and personal suffering, was this only a moment, a declaration, a means of rewriting history? They are entering a conflagration. If they do proceed, Papoose's legacy from his time with Remy is another factor in addition to the public pressure. When individuals continue to tag you from the past, it might be difficult to start again. His moments with Remy would be compared to every photo he took with Claressa. Millions of people who still refer to him as Mr. have analyzed every word, every post, and every grin. Black love, however, perhaps that is the purpose. Perhaps Papoose has had enough of that burden. Perhaps he's tired of being the man that everyone else can find and bolstered. This may be the period of his life when he is free and defined by his own desires rather than by his allegiance to another person. And perhaps that's just what he needs, if Claressa stands for tranquility, clarity, or perhaps simply a new beginning. However, what about Remy? She hasn't spoken yet. Yet her silence speaks more than words. She has previously taken the initiative to dominate the conversation, respond to rumors directly, and clap back. However, this time, nothing. No interviews. No freestyles in the studio. Just a conspicuous lack of participation in the discussion. Some claim that her silence stems from guilt. Some others think she's preparing a strong return that will turn the tide in her favor. In any case, she must make some choices. Redemption is one choice. Remy could stand up, accept accountability, provide her version of events, and perhaps even own up to the errors that contributed to the breakup of this relationship. She may remind people that even powerful women have weak points by embracing her fragility, which is something we don't frequently see from her, because occasionally even icons go lost. Redeeming stories are popular, especially when they are honest and unvarnished. Or she might get rebellious, release a song, return to the booth, create art out of the suffering, make fuel out of the reaction, change the story and return with a bang, like she did when she was released from prison. Since, let's face it, this is Remy Ma. She had previously been undervalued. She's also renowned for her ability to surprise people when they think she's gone. However, there is also the silent route. The one where she just moves away and lets the sound subside. Rebuilds in secret, off camera. Perhaps even a second love, but in private. That is considered weakness by some. That's growth, according to others. Because sometimes the most effective tactic is to just vanish. And not all wars require a response. Next up is Claressa. She is now the story's surprise character, a well-known sportsman, a combatant with focus. A lady who has achieved all of her titles via hard work rather than influence. She didn't request to be involved in a romantic triangle. Nevertheless, she is the focus of attention just for being next to the wrong man at the wrong time. What does she do then? She may retreat, if it's truly simply a friendship. Silently return to your training once the excitement subsides. She will have to deal with the heat, though, if there is more to it and she and Papoose are indeed pursuing a closer bond. People will refer to her by derogatory terms, inquire about her ethics. Despite having created her whole history by herself, she has tied her identity to a man. Things start to become serious at that point, because both inside and outside of the ring, Claressa has always battled her own struggles. Perhaps this isn't her battle, or perhaps it is, and she is prepared for it. The audience, however, is another important character in this tale besides the three of them: the culture. The admirers who followed this romance from start to finish, they experienced the greatest sense of betrayal. They believed in these people, not because they knew them personally, in their dedication, their illustration. Their tripped out and perplexity comes when that conviction falters. Cynicism, heartbreak, too, a little. However, that could be the lesson here. Even the most lauded form of love is still human, still brittle, still prone to failure. Loyalty may be praised endlessly, but humans are not inanimate objects. They evolve. They were painful. They change with time. They also occasionally drift apart. The interaction between Remy and Papoose was real. Before it wasn't. It was real. And that's all right. Each of them must now determine what their upcoming chapters will entail. Whether they rewrite them together, alone, or with a different person. Whether they seek peace, retribution, or atonement. And perhaps the hardest thing for us as viewers, believers, and audience members is to quit expecting perfection from someone just because they used to inspire us. Appreciating the love that was without, keeping them as a captive to it forever, may be the healthiest thing we can do. What comes next, then? Perhaps Papoose and Claressa create something tangible. Perhaps Remy returns stronger than before. Or perhaps there are no hashtags or headlines at the end of this. Perhaps after the cameras stop flashing, it simply vanishes, like most tales do. One thing is certain, though love in the limelight is never easy, legends also bleed. I'd like to hear from you now. Was Papoose beginning a new chapter or making a statement? Is Claressa only a brief stint in the spotlight or the start of something bigger? Is Remy Ma and Papoose's narrative really ended? Or can they ever recover from this? Please share your ideas in the comments section, but please be kind. Behind the headlines are real people with real lives and genuine sorrow. You're not alone if this tale resonated with you. If you've ever experienced betrayal, fallen in love, or had to let go when it was most painful. For more honest conversations, in-depth analyses, and important news, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because we tell it as it is in a society where rumors abound.